I never had much luck dating when I was younger. It turns out a good pickup line for a straight woman isn't, "Hey, we have the same shirt." Twinsies. Honestly, since I was about 14, people always assumed I was gay. It never bothered me, but I always want to know their reasoning. I don't know if it's because my voice is a little bit deeper, or because I think this is a show outfit, or because I own enough hammers that I have a favorite one. I think it's just something about me. Honestly, I think people forget that you can like boy stuff and also like boy stuff. So since I wasn't getting much attention when I was younger for being myself, I became a kind of character. I was this tough girl who used tools and wore cowboy boots and flannel shirts, and I didn't care what anybody thought. It turns out it takes a lot of effort not to care what people think. But I really leaned in. In college, I had this great habit where I would drink a little too much whiskey and then tell people hard truths they didn't ask for. It's cute, right? So when I met Jake at my first job after college, and he was asking everybody about their tattoos so that he could make fun of them, I thought we were a match made in heaven. I was 22 and he was 28, so he was a grown-up, and he also didn't care what people thought about him, even his boss and his parents. I was a painter and he was a carpenter, and I really loved that we both worked with our hands, and he could really do no wrong in my eyes. I thought the fact that he had dropped out of college with 2 semesters left was cool and alternative. We spent almost every weekend together for months, just hanging out at his apartment, ordering food, watching movies, and just laughing. And I thought I was so lucky to have found him, without realizing he was pretty lucky to have found me. I was a girl who was willing to spend every Saturday night on his couch and every Sunday morning just hanging out. In a year and a half, we didn't go to a single brunch. He never wanted to define our relationship, but I just let that be another reason he was outside the mainstream. And sure, he left his phone in a drawer so I wouldn't hear from him for days, but I thought that was just cool and different, you know? And he didn't have much furniture, but that just meant he wasn't materialistic. It's amazing how far you guys just don't understand, he's different, will get you when you're defending a man in your 20s. I had a goal to be the least annoying girlfriend ever. I was terrified to lose him. It felt so amazing when I was in his spotlight that I forgave him for all the times he left me in the dark. And I thought that it had taken me 22 years to find somebody that I could connect with. It would probably take another 22 if we broke up. About a year and a half into our relationship, he ghosted me. But he would still call me occasionally or send a random text, so I guess it was more of a haunting than a ghosting. And I could tell that he really wanted me to be the one to end the relationship so he didn't have to be the bad guy. But I'm embarrassed to say it took me months to do that. We finally broke up, and I just wondered where I would ever find anybody else. And 3 years later, he called me out of the blue. I literally stopped in my tracks. I was so shocked to hear his voice. And he just started talking like nothing had happened. But I didn't care, because I had been holding a candle for him the entire time. And not a small candle either, one of those big TJ Maxx candles. It's not like I had been doing very well without him. The guy I dated before he called had broken up with me in the Words with Friends app. This is true, we dated for 9 months. I had met his dad, and for some reason when he wanted to break up, he messaged me in fake Scrabble and just said, "Emily, I think this is over." I didn't even understand. I responded, "But I have 13 letters left." I was 27, I was living in New York City, I had a constant rotation of roommates, I was still freelancing, and I had just gone on a tour to maybe study furniture design in grad school, even though I had never designed any furniture. If that doesn't say lost, I don't know what does. So we started talking, we talked for a few weeks, and we just kept wondering out loud, why did we ever break up? Even though we had a great list of reasons why. We decided I should go visit him and we should see if we could get back together. So I went and visited him, and we went to dinner, and we were both clearly nervous, but he was my soulmate. We just needed to relax and see where the night went. And on the way home, we got in a car accident. Wasn't a big accident, just a fender bender. The person, in front of us stopped short and we hit them. And I hit my head on the dashboard. It wasn't a hard hit, but it was a shock. But the bigger shock was watching Jake get out of the car to yell at the other driver without checking on me. And in the minute or two I watched him scream at that stranger, I had one of the clearest thoughts I've ever had in my life. You will never be his priority. When we got back to his apartment, I didn't bother telling him I was mad at him. It seemed pointless. I sat up in bed that night and I mourned the end of a relationship I was technically still in. It had taken 5 years, but I was finally ready to move on. A couple years after that, I was in Las Vegas and I saw a project that he had worked on while we were dating. I was in a good mood, I was feeling nostalgic, and I called him and he answered and said, "Who's this?" We talked for a few minutes, but that was finally it. I started dating my husband, Danny, a few months after that. He was this guy I had worked with, and to be honest, he wasn't really on my radar, but I went to a bar with some friends, and when we walked in, Danny was there, and his face lit up when he saw me, because we had stumbled into his birthday party. I found out years later he spent the entire night telling people, "Emily Walsh came to my party," which I'm sure they loved, but I struggled so much with Jake because I felt like he never actually chose me, and I figured that no one else ever would. But 10 days into dating Danny, he asked me if we should lock this down. And I laughed in his face because I thought we already had. Danny has woken up every day for the past 10 years and chosen me, and most days I believe him. Thank you.